In this video today, I'm going to speak about 5 times that my mental health was impacted by sports science. I will quickly say before I start, I'm not directly pointing the finger at sports science on its own. Um, there are lots of different reasons that I felt the way I did, which I'll explain, but sports science and the career that I've had has definitely played a part in that. Okay, so here's a list of symptoms in relation to common mental disorders. You might want to pause and have a little look at that in your own time, but I'm just going to go through 5 of these which really strongly related to the way I've felt over the past 10, 12 years in sports science. So, firstly, very simply, feeling sad, feeling down. And a lot of those feelings came from rejection. It's only natural, I suppose, but started off quite lightly, being rejected by 4 out of 5. Yeah, fairly down about that, but I think the more experience you get for me, maybe the worse it can feel because you're getting more qualifications, you're spending more time, you're more invested. So I was getting rejected for strength and conditioning jobs, despite in my mind having good experience, being in such a competitive industry and hardly getting a sniff at some of the jobs I felt, at least getting interviewed for. Um, yeah, I felt very, very down. But I felt even worse when it came to the PhD. I think that's partly my living arrangements as well, the way I was living my life at the time. But it didn't help that every PhD I seemed to go for, I was getting nowhere near. I had the odd interview, but yeah, 90% of applications didn't go to an interview. It was just a template rejection email. You're not learning through the process, and you do reach a stage where you do feel pretty worthless. Secondly, is fear, worry, guilt. And for me, I've moved over 30 times, and this is partly due to parents separating from a young age. So that's part of the course. You're going to move around a lot as a kid in that situation. But at least half of this, I'd say, has come from sports science. I've moved around a lot. And there's that worry. You're in a competitive industry. Well, I'm going to have to move house again. I'm going to have to move in 6 months. I'm going to have to make new friends, move to a new town. And you do find yourself, at least in my line of work, quite worried about that in the early stage of your career. And it also means you leave people behind. Your friends in different towns and cities is one thing, but even your family, if you've got someone that you might act as a carer for, they're dependent on you, and you're leaving them behind, you feel a huge sense of guilt, even though that move that you're making is for you at least, for the right reasons to develop your career. Next is withdrawal from friends' activities. And yeah, something I've done quite a lot over the past few years. So, if there was a bad day where either there's a reason for it, it could be rejection, something bad happened, or even more worrying, there's no reason. You just feel down. You can't explain why. If I had something coming up, you're going down the pub with your mates, there's certain arrangement, I'd get out of it. I didn't want to do it. I'd make excuses. I had a headache. I had work to do, but I'd just be sat at home staring at the wall by myself. And what makes it worse is you feel guilty. The guilt would creep in. I should be out there. I've let people down. And the more time you spend alone, if you're suffering from a common mental disorder, the worse it can be. You have too much time to think about stuff. So moving on, alcohol use is something that, through times of rejection, being in a very competitive environment, a way of dealing that was, having a drink, and it was that short-term solution. So the worrying part was it can be very early in the morning. So there have been times I get a rejection email at 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, which is a strange time to get one, but I'll have a drink. I know it'll be a bad day if I don't have a drink. Not alcoholic, not hugely alcohol dependent, um, but I knew having a few drinks would take the sting out of that rejection. But you feel guilty, you're hiding it. You'd say you're going down the shop early in the morning to do a food shop, and you buy a bit of food to cover it, but you buy a drink as well. And you go in your room and you have a few drinks early on. You're waiting for the people at home to leave before you go downstairs again, or you're hoping Brenda don't come up because they'll see the state you're going to be in. And finally, thoughts of suicide. So yeah, I've mentioned the rejection. A lot of rejections. I think in the long term, I could maybe say now it's been okay. It's actually made me more resilient, but certainly dark times, feeling completely worthless. Can't get a job in S&C despite all the hard work I put in for 4 or 5 years. Can't get a PhD despite all the hard work I've put in. away from uni, the extra work, and you start to doubt yourself. You're in bed at late at night. Um, yeah, you're plotting it. You're thinking, well, okay, I'm going to do this. How do you do it? Well, it won't be a train because I feel bad for the train driver if you go out in front of the track. You know, if I jump off a building, maybe I'll just break my leg. Maybe it won't have the impact. And, you know, never going to do it. But having those thoughts is, for anyone that's had it, you'll know it's scary. You know, you don't want to do it. You don't want to be in that position, but it's going through your mind. It's a very frightening place to be in. And you don't see an alternative. You know, for me personally, at least, anyway. You spend a long time following a certain route and you're not seeing it come to fruition. And you think, well, I've come so far down the track here. Where do I go? Do I start again? Do I do something else with my life? No, that's too long. You know, you're having these negative thoughts in your mind. Well, it's never going to happen for me. So what's the alternative? So at this point in the video, for anyone that's watched previous ones, I normally finish off with advice. I'm not in a place to really give advice. I'm not qualified in the mental health area, so I can only speak from personal experience here and be cautious in what I say. But I would say you're not alone. There are people around you can speak to. You don't have to speak to everyone, um, but if you can find at least one person that you feel you can confide in, open up about your feelings, as difficult as that is, I know how hard it is. It's a lot easier now. I'm doing this video, but that first step is very, very difficult, but also can be very beneficial. And you need to find the right course of action. You'll have support from people, but um, you'll have to find your own way. You know, people can tell you certain ways of dealing with it, give you their story, but it's your mind, it's your life, and for you, it could be seeing a specialist, it could be medication, mixture of the two, it could be a more alternative method. Um, but long story short, you need to really find what works best for you to manage your symptoms on a daily basis. Okay, so I appreciate normally as well in this video, I'll say if you want to speak to me about anything that relates to you, I appreciate this is a more sensitive topic than what I've spoken about in the past. I am all ears. If you do want to speak to me though, if there's something you want to chat about, um, if you want me to open up more about the things I've spoken about in this short video, I'm very open. I'm very happy to discuss more examples as well. Okay, thank you for listening, and I'll speak to you again soon.